Hey everyone, this is Daniel, and in today's video, we're going to take a look at these modern controls that are coming soon to Power Apps Canvas apps. Now, for current testing, you need to go ahead and opt in to see it in the preview, but it's very important that you're aware of these because not only will this elevate the wow factor in your Canvas apps, but it also makes it a lot easier to build them. So what we're going to do is first start by taking a look at all of these existing Canvas apps designs. And I'll show you some examples of the things you're familiar with, the things that we use to go and make them these Canvas apps right now. Then I'll go ahead and build the exact same thing using this new modern design look, and you will immediately notice the difference and the wow factor involved in it. So stick around, there's a lot to learn, things you need to pay attention to. But first, here's my intro video. So the announcement of these modern controls was made on a Wednesday of March 29, 2023, and here was a quick overview of all the features that it has. But the one thing that caught my attention is that these controls are Web Content Accessibility Guideline compliant, which means that it will go ahead and manage all of those scenarios, especially for people who have disabilities. Something to be mindful of. And so in addition to all of this, you do have to go ahead and opt in for that if you want to go and test with these preview functions. So let me go and show you how to do that. So go ahead and request your Power Platform admin to go to the Power Platform Admin Center or PPAC. Go ahead and create a new environment, and in your new environment for the region, select the Preview United States. This will just make sure that that environment has this new feature functionality. Then you go ahead and actually create an app. So this is me. I've gone and put that into my new environment that I created. I've gone and opted in. But now if I just go ahead and click on to see these new features, the last thing I see is mixed reality. I don't see that new functionality because there's one additional step that needs to be done. What you need to do is go on settings. In the settings, click on the upcoming features. In the preview tab, you scroll all the way to the bottom and then see over here it says try out the modern controls. You want to go and toggle that on. And the moment I toggle that on, you will see that the modern controls are shown up on the bottom left. And then when I go ahead and expand that, you will see these are all the modern controls. Now that you see it, you can go ahead and actually do some experimenting and some playing around with it. So now that you know how to go ahead and get yourself access to this, let me show you an example of an old app that I've built with some of the existing designs and how I was able to rebuild that using this modern look. So here is one of my existing Power Apps Canvas app that I've built. And as you can see the title, this is where people who've gone ahead and attended events, they can go ahead and get some reimbursement for the expenses that they've done. And it's pretty simple and straightforward. I've got buttons over here, I've got some icons, I've got the date control, I've got the list, I've got the tabs, and then I've also gone and put some radio controls. So if I were to just go and even test it, you would see that every time I click on an event or the next one, which is location, this shows you at which stage you are in. So if I were in travel, it'd go ahead and increase that. So this is something that manually I had to build. And that's because I had to actually go ahead and get some icons. As you can see, that this is selected a group over here. It's got the icon selected. This is another rectangular icon. Like this is something I had to build by myself to give this entire user interface experience over here. Same thing which happened for my start date too. This is the actual out-of-the-box start date control that we have. And you can see this is what it is. You have to go and select it. So you can actually click on the month. It goes and uses your drop-down, year, does that. You select the date. And then one of the things you absolutely have to do is make sure you click on OK. Because if you accidentally went and clicked outside, it doesn't stick with that date. You've got to select the date and you got to click on OK. And so that's the start date. That's the end date. Event over here is coming from a drop-down. Again, the drop-down I went and put it from whatever data source that you want. Okay, and then you can go and select it. It just basically does that. Over here, these are checkboxes, individual checkboxes. And as you can see, I've made it a little bit more relative. So only if I select travel, will I get these other travel options. So these are individual checkboxes that you see, travel, hotel, food. But over here, these are radio controls that I have. Okay, again, not too bad, but this is what it is right now. In addition, I wanted to go ahead and give some information. So what I did was that for the information of start date, if you hover over it, you see that the actual mouse cursor goes into a finger, which means if I click on it, a little pop-up comes in. Now this pop-up had to be built by me. which means that what I had to do was actually have a label control over here. This right here is a label control. You can see it shows that it is a label control. And then I have also had to go ahead and add in some formulas over here, which means that in this label, in its visible property, that property should be made true, which means it will show. And then if you select it again, let me show you. If I go and select this again, then that property of that label is made false, which means it hides. Like, this is something that I had to do myself. This icon, I had to add it over there. I had to add a label, get some text, use these variables to actually do all of this stuff. And I was able to add that very well as well. You can hit here, I added in the event, but you kind of understand that this is something that is not out of the box. It's something that you had to build. And then the final thing I wanted to show over here was this link which I had to put in. Now, what was this link? It's not actually a control call link. This was actually a button. So if I go and select it, you will see that on the right side it says button. That's what it is. I had to actually add a button control, and then I had to do a little bit of customization of my own, because what I wanted to do was I wanted to treat this as a URL for me to, if I click on it, it will go ahead and launch a website. There's no such thing as out of the box. Okay, there was no URL functionality out of the box. I had to use a button and then go ahead and do some customization by actually in its onSelect property, use the launch function so that it pretends like it's a URL. So if I actually click on it, now it'll open up another tab and take me to that destination, which is what the URL has, right? So this is what I had to build now to bring this nice look and feel all together, all right? What I want to do is show you how I was able to replicate the exact same thing using this new modern look. So this is what the modern design looks like. As you can see, it's got a really good polished look to it. And I'm going to do some side-by-side comparisons. So first of all, right on the top, you see that I have the event. And when I have that event selected, on the bottom, it is also showing me which step it is in. However, if I go and click on location, you will see that this line now automatically expanded. It actually went and got a little bigger and it's telling me which step I am. So even though I selected location on the top, it expanded over to step number 2. So if I went to travel, now it is going and doing step number 3. And finally, if I go and click on submit, it automatically went to step number 4. Now remember, when I showed you in the original apps that I built, my Canvas app, that's an entire process that I had to build. I had to actually add multiple icons over there, I had to add multiple text over there and actually get this built. But something like this was available out of the box. So let me actually show you what all I had to do. So let's actually first take a look at this top navigation. It's basically a tab functionality. So for that, in this new design, I actually went to the plus, I went to modern controls, and in that modern controls, what I selected was the tab list. This is what it's called, the tab list. So now if I just select on it, go to the modern section, you will see that this thing is what's called as the tab list. See on the bottom, tab list, that's what I did. Now on the tab list, to build it is very simple. The old process on how to use it is actually something we are already very familiar with. This is what I like. In this example, also the exact same thing. I actually went and used a collection, and that collection is getting populated when I just go and open up the app. That's the easy part, you know that. But it's the collection that you use over here. Other than that, I really didn't have to do anything, because all it is smart enough to know that, hey, whenever you're hovering on something, it gives you that gray underline line over here. See that? It does that automatically. I didn't have to do any of this. You and I know that if we had to replicate this in the old design, that was a lot of work we had to do. We actually had to use some of those properties called on hover and then go ahead and actually add a little rectangle icon over there. It was a lot of work to do that. This feature of the tab list is available out of the box, all right? So again, same thing. If I clicked on location, then it automatically went and highlighted that. It came, the color was changed over there, which tells me that this is the currently existing item that I have selected. It's pretty slick, and I personally appreciate this so much because I know the time I had to take in the older design to replicate this. All right, so you get that piece now. Okay, this is basically the current asset, which is called as using this tab list functionality. And just so I can show you again, if you were to go and use this new modern controls, it is the tab list option over here. That's the control which has gone over there. All right, cool. So now I want to show you this control. This is called as the progress bar. And you've actually seen me build something similar, but that was using a different types of charts icon, which is available directly in the Power Apps. I meant the charts control. That's available in the Power Apps Canvas app. But this is not me going and customizing another tool or another control. This is exactly what it is, and that's what it is. It's the progress bar over here. So I basically went and grabbed that, put it over here. but this needed a little bit more customization. So let me actually tell you what those customizations are. First of all, in the progress bar, you can go ahead and give it all kinds of things that you want. You can go ahead and give it some of the colors that you have. You can go ahead and actually do it directly from either on the property side or on the advanced properties over here. You can go and actually do some shaping as well. There is the round shape, there is the shape over here. Thickness, you want to do it medium, you want to do it large, you've got these functionalities. What I had to do was go ahead and now manipulate the value piece. You see the value piece over here? This is completely dynamic. So let me actually show you this formula. It's actually a very similar, simple formula that you will understand. As you can see that even this progress bar, its progress is all based from 0 to 100. That's how I went ahead and actually factored in the progress bar. So if I went ahead and selected the tab called event, set the value to 5. If I went and selected the tab item called location, we'll set it to 35. And then for travel, it was 60, and for submit, it was 100. So you get that I was actually giving some static numbers, but yet I was making it a little bit more dynamic that, hey, the numbers are only created if and until you select something. And in our something was what is the status? Is it an event location? So moment I selected event, the value 5 came in. So I can go and put that over here. So if selected event, this value over here is set to 5, which is why it comes all the way over here. Moment I went and selected location, it would given a value to select on the locations type. Travel, again, is put this value and then submit all the way up to 100. And that is how this progress bar is working. So now that you see it, you kind of understand that this is actually a lot more easier. Again, if we had to replicate this in Power Apps in the current design, there's a lot of work involved over here. And this is how I was able to do it directly using this modern control called progress bar. Cool. Now let's go and take a look at this calendar pieces over here. And you've already kind of seen this because we were able to actually go and steal this from the Teams Canvas app designer side. You know that in this designer, which was there built inside Teams, it had a similar calendar control, which has a much more modern look to it. But you could actually do a copy from the Canvas Studio inside Teams, paste it over here in the standalone one in your browser, and it would just work. So this is not completely new. However, I'm so glad that now it's built inside the Canvas one in the standalone version. So you're very familiar with this. You can go ahead and select it, any of the month that you want. Right away, you can select the month. You can go ahead and select the year and then select the date. But the beauty is that now you do not need to click on that OK button over there, which is in the current style. If once you selected the date, it automatically went ahead and closed it, and the date sticks, which is pretty neat. So it's the same functionality, even the end date, all right? It's the exact same thing, the new modern calendar. Also, this is something that you are already familiar with it, but I thought I'll go and show that to you, all right? All right, the next one over here is what I used for event, but that is actually our drop-down control over here. Now, this drop-down control also has some new look and feel to it. So if I go and play on it, you will see that it actually has a nice design to it all the way. And it's got these nice curved edges. The flowing is very seamless over here, and it has a nice look and feel to it as well. As against the other design on which we had before, if we actually go and take a look at that directly in our design piece, the regular one, this is what it looked like. It was a little clunky, it was a little big, and this is how it was presented. However, if you go take a look at the new one, the curving edges over here are so much more nicer, and the overall look and feel is a lot more nicer as well. So I really like this whole event piece. Nothing more to add to this. In my case, I went and actually used a collection. You can actually go ahead and use a data source directly from where you're pulling it. But the overall item is pretty neat. Works really well. Now, I want to actually go and switch over now over here to this checkboxes. Now, the adding of the checkbox is very straightforward, all right? So it basically has the same look and feel. You can go ahead and select the checkbox. You can make it conditional that if I selected the travel, then I've got actually these radio controls. These radio controls are now coming in directly on what I've selected over here. One thing about the checkbox pieces is that's the same thing as what it was before, is that you can add individual checkboxes so that you can actually go and add multiple items over here. Now I want to switch over to the radio controls. In the radio controls currently right now, remember this is in preview, which you're opting into test. I was only able to put them in a vertical way. I could not go ahead and put them in a horizontal way. And I actually went and searched through all of these properties. It did not have the option to go and switch them over into the horizontal way. And just so that you know what I'm talking about, in the regular one right over here, you see I was able to go ahead and actually change that into the horizontal. And to do that, I can actually just go to the advanced settings, and in my advanced settings, you got to scroll down just a bit and see there's the layout property. The layout property, it has the layout dot horizontal, and it also has the layout dot vertical. This is what we have functionality right now. However, if I go to this modern look and if I go and select the radio control, I actually do not have the layout property anymore. So hopefully this is just in preview. Once this thing does go GA, they will go ahead and add that layout property as well. But all in all, the overall look and feel is pretty neat over here. Okay. Let me actually show you two more other items which are pretty neat. Remember, in the regular one over here, if I wanted to do the information piece, this is not an out-of-the-box solution. This is something that I had to go get the icon. Then I had to go ahead and put in another little label over here. So if I just click on it, you'll see that I can go outside. This over here is a label that I added, and that label's visible property to be a true or false. That's the one that I'm controlling based on the on select property of this label. So it was a lot of work over here. Other thing which would make this a little bit more complicated is that you had to make sure that if you went ahead and selected this by selecting the on select over here, you had to click over here as well. It had to, all the properties are happening in that label. So if I select this icon, this label shows up. If I select the icon again, then it goes ahead and hides. Everything is dictated by that label. However, in the new design, it is completely different. So watch this. If I go to now the modern, and if I go and now select it, that is what it is. It goes and gives you this really beautiful view of this label. But check this out. I can hover my mouse anywhere else, and the moment I select it outside, anywhere else, that label goes up. Replicating that in our existing Power Apps design is very hard. So I really like this and I welcome this. So you saw this in the start date feature. I've also gone and added that in the event. Exact same process. And you can see over here, the text is pretty big and automatically and dynamically goes ahead and fills up this entire space over here, this rectangular type of look and feel. It immediately went and actually stretched it out. I didn't have to do anything. It automatically went and stretched it out. Same functionality. I go and click anywhere outside, it automatically goes and makes that invisible. So to build this is pretty simple. If I went ahead and now actually showed you, right over here under modern controls, there is something called as info button. That's all it is. You get the info button, you drag it over here, and then once you select it in the properties section, you can do all of this. Like, what is the size? You want to make it small, medium, large, display mode, whether it's going to be of a type edit or if it's going to be of a type display. That helps you dictate that only show this message if something else has happened, some other condition is met. And at that time, you can use that conditional functionality for your display mode feature over here. And then you can go and put in the content, which is basically all your text that you put in. That was the beauty of this. All right, now what I want to show you is this link functionality. Now remember, this link functionality is just not available directly in the existing Power Apps Canvas app. Remember, in my example that I showed you, I actually had to replicate something like this using a button. And the button, and over there I used the launch function. Well, that's not the case over here in this link. This entire thing is actually a full control by itself. That link. So when you went and dragged it, I dropped it, I put it over here. All I had to do is in the URL property, I just went and added the URL property. I didn't have to put any launch because guess what? It is already a URL one. So that's what it is. I put the text shows up over here. I went and put in the URL, it shows up over there. And so now when I actually come on it, I hover it, it gives me a link type of user interface because remember the mouse changed into the finger pointing. And when I click on it, it automatically opened up another tab. So it's kind of have its own built-in feature for the launch, something I did not have to add over here. All right, so the one other one is called as the badge control. And as you can see, this is what the badge control is. And what I used the badge control was for this header and this footer. So I played with the properties. One of the things about the properties is you can go and put in the content. The content means I could go and put in some text, but I did not have the option to manipulate the text type or the text size, which is why on top of this, I just went and added a label. There was some functionality for the appearance. In the appearance, I really liked the tint. However, there was filled, there was the feature to go and ghost it. There was the feature to go and put an outline. Or I went and used the existing one, which was tint. The tint is what I liked. You can go ahead and change its position, which is XY coordinates, or you can go and change its overall width and the height. But I liked it because this worked very well for my header and for my footer. So that's what I used it for right now. All right, in the bottom over here, you see Notes. Notes is one of the modern controls. It's a text input type, and when you select it, it does give you all of these options as well. And you're kind of familiar with this already. In the mode, it could be a single line. I went ahead and selected the multiple line. You can make it required, make it display type, which will be if you want to, only make this in a type edit mode if something else has been done. All of those features that we could do before, it is directly applicable over here as well. And so this was part of the modern controls, and therefore I went ahead and added it over here. All right, so the last thing that I want to show you is one more, and that is the type spinner. So let me just actually go and go to one of our new screens over here. In my test screen, when I go ahead and grab this spinner is something that you can use over here, and it is pretty neat. You can actually go and make this big. Now, you may have actually either you had seen on my videos, or if you've even attended any of my workshops and the conferences, you know that I do go ahead and purchases my gifts from loading.io. In fact, loading.io has one of these spin ones that is free. You do have to go and sign up with them, but you can get one of these things. Keep in mind though that when we use it over here, you've got to go ahead and design everything, your speed, your color, and all of that. Then you go and download the GIF file, the GIF file, and then use it. There's nothing else you can do inside Power Apps. All the modernization happens right over here. However, with this new spinner control, you have some access and properties over here. So check this out. Appearance is directly primary, or you can do it as inverted. Inverted means now you've set the background into a color, and the spinner has actually become white in color. You can go ahead and do some positioning of the label as well. You can move things around before, after, you've got some options over here. Spinner size, you can go to tiny, and you can go to huge. You can go all of these things. So you've got options to customize this directly inside the Canvas app while you're in the studio, something that loading.io doesn't give you. So therefore, I like this feature for that one reason, is that I've got access to it. It comes out of the box directly with the Power Apps modern tools, but I've also got the options to manipulate the properties, the overall look and feel however I want. And that is why I'm really excited to use this one as well. So hopefully this video gives you a good overview of what to look forward to. Some of these modern design controls are really neat. Like I already see myself starting to use that tab as well as that progress bar. Those are pretty awesome out of the box. Not a whole lot of customization required over here. The hyperlink ones or the link functionality, that's pretty neat. No more launch function used over there. And then the spinner one, well, nice, because now it's out of the box available. I don't have to go and create my own and even purchase it. Power Apps directly has in it. So hopefully this video was useful to you. And as always, keep using Power Apps. Hello, hello, hello. So if you like this video, go ahead and click on that subscribe button and smash that like button. Also, if you have a few extra seconds, can you go ahead and put in a comment? Either say something nice or give me ideas for my next video. And until then, see ya.